Hello, today I'm going to show you how to paint a robin. I'm just using a canvas board today, and I'm going to show you right now what paint and brushes I use for this painting. So here's a list of what we're using for this painting. I'm using a cerulean blue, a brilliant yellow, a crimson, a burnt sienna, and a raw umber. Now, the specific colors don't really matter. You could use any blue, you could use any yellow, any red. The burnt sienna is going to be the important, unique color for this painting. And also, before I forget, we used this for the background in this painting. It's a nice green, blue color, phthalo green, or phthalo green. I'm not exactly too sure how you're supposed to say it. A few different people say it a few different ways. And then of course, white, black. The brushes we're using, this is the main brush. It's just another one of those small pointer brushes, but what's great about it is it can be flat like this. And you can use the bristles when they separate like that, when you have paint on it, for different techniques that we'll be using. So that's great. This is a blending brush for the background. And then we just have a couple other small brushes. Doesn't have to be specific, just whatever you have. And then we'll need a X-Acto knife for cutting out the bird that we choose to use for the painting. You'll need a pencil that's well sharpened, and then you'll probably want an eraser. And other than that, once again, I'm just using a piece of Tupperware for to wash my brushes out, and then something to put the paint on. So that's it for this. So here's what we're going to do to start. I went online and I found the picture I want to use as a reference for my painting. Today I'm using a robin, and what I did was I printed it out. I saved the image to my computer, printed it out. No color is needed. I'm going to cut out the bird and use that as a template to put onto my canvas. You'll want to keep the image on your computer or on your phone as a color reference as you start painting, and that's all we need to get started. Okay, so at this point when I've got it all cut out, when I'm trying to break it out of the paper, what I'm doing is I'm going to see, as I pop it out, where it's getting stuck. I can see it's getting stuck right there. I'm not going to tear it. I'm going to just cut through that one little piece. Just like that. It's a little stuck right there. You can stick the knife in. And this, I like to take my time and get it just right, because I don't want to have to do this part again because it's tedious, and I just want to get to the painting part of the project. So that's what we're doing. Looks like I missed a leg right there. If you miss a leg, or if you accidentally cut it out like I did, that's okay. It's going to be easy to just paint that in using your own eye. What we're mainly looking for is the shape of the bird, so that we know where to put the eyeball, we know where the wing starts, and you'll see more of what I'm talking about when we get started. Okay, and then where those legs stop, you can just pop them right out, and that's going to be what we work with. Okay, so you're going to want to use this paper that you cut the bird out of to trace the bird. And the reason being is because if you put the bird on the paper and then trace outside of that, you're going to end up with it being just a little bit bigger all the way around. So you don't want that. You want to end up with the same size all the way around. So the way we do that is we get this guy and we trace on the inside as we hold it down. And I like to get the biggest area first, because that way if the paper slides around, moves around, I know right where to bring it back to, because I have a nice big line. What's nice about doing this too is you can get in here if you want. You know, if you don't get the straightest line, it's okay, because we're going to paint it in. So sorry if my hand is covering what I'm doing. I'm using my fingers to hold the paper down so that I can accurately get my tracing in there. I know what you could do. I'm a painter, not necessarily a drawer, so I would encourage you to practice just drawing the bird and seeing if you could do it without using a template. For the sake of what I'm doing today, I'm using a template because I mainly want to show how to blend the colors, how to get the wing detail with the colors, with the paint, and maybe we'll do drawing the birds next time. But this is a nice, fun, easy way to do it. And it's not cheating, because you're going to end up creating every single other aspect to this picture. Let's see. So this here is a little bit of the wing I forgot to take out. Boop, there we go. Every detail counts, every detail helps. Alright, there's the leg, and the other leg, and I'm going to come back over here, get this again. Okay, there we have it. That's our bird tracing. Okay, now we're going to grab our other piece, and I'm going to put it right there. And I want to see if I can get this eye perfect. So what I'm going to start with is, I know that the nose of the bird is right about here. And then there's this line that's coming down. And remember, you're going to want that available the whole time too, because you'll be able to see better detail than this black and white printed out piece. So you can look at either one. I'm going to use this one because that's what I'm looking at right now. And the dark color comes down right about there. And then we have this little part here. So we're just going to trace in some small details that then we can follow with our brush. We're going to try to put the eye where it makes sense. You take your time. Alright, that looks pretty good. The eye is going to be what will make or break this painting, and it's going to take a lot of practice. It's going to be very easy to make the eye look angry instead of bright and aware and open like a bird's eye, and that's going to happen with the color. The more rounded the eye is, the less angry it looks. If you have kind of harsh eyebrow happening, the bird's going to look a little mean. Okay, so I'm happy with that. As far as the main outline now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at where the wing comes in. And as you can see, it starts right about here. Let's get that lined up. Boom. Okay, you can see how I'm putting my pencil there to see where it starts. beautiful. Okay, right about there. And I'm just bringing that wing into the painting. Okay, so now from there, I feel comfortable eyeballing it because I know it's going to tie into here. So from here to here, I'm going to do my best to swoop. Once again, take your time with this. If you mess it up, use your eraser. Okay, I'm just seeing now everything's going to line up where I want it. Okay. Now this one is going to come in like this and curve down. And there's going to be a bunch of fluffy feathers down here. Okay, now the dark color comes down right about here, around the neck, and we're getting a little outline. Okay, now with that, I'm going to start painting. So we'll get this onto the easel and we'll break out some colors. Okay, so we have our canvas on our easel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to blend in a nice background. I'm going to use some blues and some greens, and it's going to be blurred. You can see our original picture that we're working off of has a blurred background, as if, you know, you took a photograph of a bird and everything else in the background is blurred. So we're going to create a similar effect, and then at the end of the painting we'll add in some foliage and make it look like so the bird is sitting on a branch, which will be fun. So here we have our colors. I'm going to get some of the blue on the brush, and I'm going to mix in some white, and we'll stick it on that canvas. Okay. Now, using the same brush, we're going to get some of the green on there, and I'm going to mix in a little bit of white. And we'll just come around through here. We're going to get close to the bird, and we're going to push that color out. So feel free to use whatever colors you want for the background. This is just what came to my mind. And you know, you can put it in there, blend it in. You can not blend it in so much. Because it's a blurred background, it really doesn't have to be anything at all specific. It can be pretty random, so use whatever colors you want. And we're gonna paint just right inside the line. And what I'm doing is I'm not getting a bunch of paint, I'm just kind of pushing it. Let's see if you can see that. I'm just kind of pushing the paint like that over the pencil, because the feathers, they're going to end up poking up and out when we start painting the bird. Okie dokie. I'm going to wash out my brushes, and then we'll get started on some of the main base colors of the bird. I decided to add a little bit in here at the bottom. I just got white on a clean brush, and I'm just bringing it up just to create some lighting. In our picture, the light that's happening on the bird is very from the front. The light isn't happening from the side or from the back or from up down. It's happening very much from the front. So, with that in mind, we can feel free to add some light wherever we want. And all this is doing is making it so that it's not all one color. We'll make it a little more interesting to look at. And it'll also blur it up a little bit. Okay, so what I've decided is I'm going to use a variety of different colors. I have a cerulean blue, I have my burnt umber, I have a crimson red, black, and white. And I'm starting with the black and the white because that is, at the most basic level, the main color of this bird. But we want to give a little more life to it, so I'm going to add a little bit of the burnt umber. I'm going to do a little bit of the red. We're getting really close there, and I'm going to do a little bit of the blue and a little bit more of that red. Now we're getting quite a vibrant gray, and I hope it translates onto camera. Doing something like this, a tiny amount of saturation instead of just gray. I don't know if you can see the difference. This has bluish, reddish, purplish gray, whereas this is just gray. And that's going to add a big difference to our painting as far as life and vibrancy from the very beginning, as opposed to just choosing the simplest color that we could. So we'll get this color and we'll fill in the bird where this color shows up. Okay, so in the painting, or in the picture rather, all this gray is happening all along here. What we're looking to do here is fully outline the bird. I'm going to make a little lighter. And we're just going to fill it in where we see this color. Okay, so I'm going to keep my pencil because as I cover certain spots like I did right here, I'm going to just make a mark so that I know, okay, I need to come back and fill that in with the orange. But this is just getting the colors, getting the main colors down. I'm going to keep a little separation from this wing and what I'm doing under here. And how I'm going to do that, actually, is I'm going to make my color a little darker. This is the under part of the bird, so this is where the shadows will start to pop up. Okay, and then this gray blends up into the orange. That will end up being all along here. So with my brush, I'm going to dry it off a little bit. Clean up my brush a little bit here on the side. And I'm going to just blend it up. What this will do is, when I add my orange, I'll be able to just work within these certain lines. And that'll be nice. I'm going to make sure that all these little spots on the canvas are almost perfectly filled in. Okay, now I'm going to get the darker color for the head and for the tail, and we'll start filling those in. So for our darker color, we're just going to add the black to the color we had already made. And maybe we'll add a little bit more red, a little bit more white, a little bit more blue, and then we'll darken it up just so we have enough to work with. And we don't want complete black, we want kind of this gray color, as you can see with the bird. The head is not that dark, but it is pretty dark. And we're going to start darker because we'll add the highlights on top. Okay. Now I'm going to fill in the head. So the wing comes up through here and ends right about there. So that's where the orange is going to come in, right about here. Once again, cleaning my brush, getting a little wet, and picking up that color just by sweeping it away. Okay, so now with a bit of a thinner brush, I'm going to just go in and make some of those finer details up here. So we've got from here to here. You can just follow where those dark lines are happening. And you try to follow the picture, but also it doesn't have to be perfect. You can kind of just put them in where you see fit. So I'm going to put some dark stuff in there. I'm going to do a dark one here. I'm going to go here. And then there's a few lines going this way. Just adding in some of those details. Really, you can't really describe it. This part just takes practice. Looking where those shadows are, those dark spots on the feathers. Okay. The whole underside here is pretty dark, so we'll go like this. And just bring the brush strokes up to give it that feather look. Okay. Fill that in a little bit more. I'm going to add a little bit more red and a little bit more white for this spot right here. Now the thing to remember with acrylic paint is it's going to dry darker than how it is when you're putting it on. So you want to keep that in mind. Okay, now I'm going to get some of my lighter color. I'll show you what I mean. We'll zoom on out and we'll come back down and then zoom back in. So this is what I'm working with the whole time. I don't have two cameras, so I'm not able to show you at the same time, but I'm working with the same color the whole time, and I'm adding black or I'm adding white, and then I'll add in a little bit more of the red. So right now I'm going to make a lighter color using white. Okay, and then we're going to come back up to our bird, and I'm going to add in some of those wing details. And you can see with the picture how light it actually is underneath those dark spots, and then how it blends back up. Sure. I'm going to add in a little fluffy chin. Okay, this will end up being the that orange color, so I'm just going to paint in where I want that orange color to be. This bird just has a bunch of different colored lines. Now with this lighter color, I'm just going to come in on the side of the bird and get those edges. And once again, we're just going to do that little technique where we do little spots. Now with the neck here, I'm going to stipple down and kind of blend it in a little bit. You can see that nice effect I'm getting, where just by tapping it starts looking like feathers. And what you're doing is you're either painting lines like this, or you're tapping it upwards the direction that the feathers would be going to create that texture, right? Okay, so now I'm going to get pure white. I'm going to clean up my brush. I got my pure white, and I'm going to put that color down in these very specific areas, just causing those little lines to happen again. Right? All this technique is just picking the right color. Here I'm going to trace around these bigger wings. Make sure you keep that flat point on the brush. And the way I do that is I take my fingers and I literally grab it and pull all the paint off. And then it's nice and flat. And then I stick that into my white, in this case. And that way I can get nice thin lines. And then I'm just going to do the same thing we did with the dark. Just stipple along. Okay, so got those long colors going. Let me get a little more black in there. So we have these feathers on the bottom. You can see that in the picture that we're using. And then here, the feathers start coming down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our color, and I'm going to paint this all gray where the feathers are going to be going the new direction. Okay? And I'm going to clean my brush. Once again, I'm going to pull the paint off using my fingers after dipping it in water to get that brush nice and flat so you can do those details. I'm going to dip into that darker color again. Not the pure black, but our gray mix. And these are coming down this way. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, it's a very subtle lines, very small details. Now right above those dark lines, I'm going to come in with some white. Just like that. Okay, now with the start color, use the dark color and the light colors to start filling in some of the highlights. So, bird is lighter up along the back and especially on the tail here. So I'm just going to work that white in, keeping my brush flat. Got to keep that brush flat for these wing details. Keeping the brush nice and flat. And you can get too much white in there, and then you can come back with your dark and you can divide it up. See that? That's what's nice about using such simple colors. So you can switch back and forth between the two. Now I'm going to get some pure black, and in those really, really dark spots, I'm going to come back and darken those up a little bit, add some of that contrast. Some up here. Now we're going to work on this bottom section. Let's get some of our lighter color. And here, because these feathers are the poofy feathers, I'm going to just go like this. Instead of side to side, I'm using the wide end of the brush. And I'm going to stipple. I'm going to stipple up, alternating back and forth from white and gray, making a unique pattern. Okay, we'll get some of our white, and where this feather goes, I'm going to just outline because my line is coming up too far. So I want it to be coming all the way to there. I don't know if you see what I mean. I have to fix the angle that I made. By coloring it in that new color and the black. We're just alternating back and forth from the dark to the light, to the dark to the light, and we're filling in those details. And if you end up doing something you don't like, you can color it back in and try again, and just keep practicing. Okay, so this guy's got a fluffy underbelly down here, which is actually pretty dang cute. Once again, just using this brush. This is a great brush to use because it separates. It can be flat, it can be wide, Okay, now I'm going to focus on this bird's eye for a minute. There is a little white spot right there, and there's some white down here. White here. Well, I'm going to use pure black for this eye. Now with the same brush for the eye, I'm going to again use my fingers and I'm going to twist the brush so it gets pointed instead of flat. I'm using that black, I'm going to fill it in. Now there's a little bit of that background color in the bird's eye. So I'm going to get a little bit of that phthalo green and I'm going to mix it with mainly white, a lot of white. These are very small details, so you have fun with it, you know. This is where you get to really explore with your technique. Explore with how realistic you want it to look. Okay, I like the way this is looking. Now I'm going to do some more of the detail through here with that lighter gray color. Remember to keep adding in those red tones. The bird gets real light through here on the forehead, which is once again very cute. Add a little bit more of that darkness. Just darkening up the head here. I made it a little too light before, which is fine, because we'll come back in and darken it up and blend it. Okay, looking good. I'm gonna do the beak now for this color. It actually does have a little bit of an orange tint to it. So this is where I'm going to get a little bit of this red, that crimson, and I'm gonna mix it in with my yellow and get a nice yellow orange color. This will be our dark color. You'll notice we're always starting darker with the bird and then we're adding the highlights on top of that. So this will be our dark color and then we'll add our pure yellow mixed with a little bit of white towards the top of the beak. This bird kind of has a funny mouth. And I want to see if I can capture that. It's those tiny details that really make the painting fun. Lighter color. It's up here at the top. Now when I get a little too much on, sometimes I take the back side of my brush and I remove it. Just like that. So right here where the dark color and the light color meet is how we're going to get that definition for the mouth. So the dark color and the light color is going to show the line. where that bird's mouth is. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I've mixed my background color one more time, and I'm filling in where I didn't quite get the paint, the background paint enough. Alrighty, now I'm going to get some of those feathers that happen down here with the pure white. First I'm going to add a little bit of darkness here, and then I'm going to come back, get my white, and come over that like this. This bird is starting to look old. Like an old robin. Alright, I like that. Now I'm going to get our orange color. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the burnt sienna, and that's going to be the orange stomach. And I'm just going to start with that, the color, and I'm going to mix it in with a little bit of white just to lighten it up a little bit, and we're going to color it in. It's already almost the perfect color, and we're going to make it even more perfect just by changing how light and how dark it is. So color it in. I'm gonna do little streaks like that. Oop. There you go. I'm gonna do little streaks. I'm gonna add some water to the paint so that it slides easier. And looking at my picture as I go, I'm going to color it in. So it gets quite lighter up here. So I'm just going to add the white. Same thing as all this. We're working with one color, adding white, and or letting it just be that natural dark tone, because it's already pretty much exactly perfect. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow in right there, because that's what I see in the painting, and the picture, I mean. Coming around the mountain. Okay. That's looking pretty cool. So we get our main color in there. So I know we're using acrylic paint, but let me show you what I'm doing here. Because so I know we're using acrylic paint, but let me show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to add a little bit of water. I get water on my brush, add it in. And what that does is it just makes it so that the acrylic paint slides around a little bit better, which is important for this painting because these feathers, they need to fully cover the canvas with the color. Right here, I want to cover all those little dots that happen with the canvas, the texture of the board that we're using. Coming down. And just like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some white to our burnt sienna. And we're going to make it look like feathers by using our same technique of just going up at the flat end of the brush. That same technique that we used for this entire bird. Even up here, up there we'll have to add a little bit more white. Right there. Here I'm just going to tap it. Okay, because the underside of the bird is where the shadows would hit, I'm going to cover that in, color that in, some of that darker color. Okay, it's looking nice. Now I'm going to get our black, and I'm going to mix the black with the burnt sienna. I'm going to mix the burnt sienna here with the black, and that will be our bird legs. And our bird legs come out like this. Once again, adding water to my color so that I can really fill in. And these are just tiny little bird legs. Nothing special. Okay, now this bird needs to be sitting on something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little branch coming around like this. And I'm going to use black. I'm going to use black, and I'm going to make that brush nice and flat. And our branch will come in here, and right now I'm just shaping it. It can come down and around to here and dip back over. Beautiful. Now you have to decide how thick you want the branch. Probably don't want it too thick, but just thick enough. Once again, adding water to my paint so that it slides. You'll also save paint that way too. When you add a little water to it, makes a little paint go a long ways. Okay, now I'm going to switch back to our bird brush to finish off this branch, to make it nice and thin. We'll add a couple little You make these branches do whatever you want. This is your time. You could add a whole tree in if you wanted to. You could make it so the tree is coming all the way up. This, I'm just doing a simple branch. I'll have a little bit come up in here. The thing I find that helps with branches is to kind of have it be wavy. It doesn't have to be straight lines. You can curve it and then curve it and then curve it again and get a very nice natural look. There's no really right or wrong way to do a branch. The main rule I try to go by is you don't want the branch to get thicker towards the end. Just kind of as a general rule, that's what I like to stick by, because if it gets thicker at the end, it doesn't look like a natural tree. See, like that. See how it's thicker and this is super thin? So what I do is I come back and I thicken it up just a little bit. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to, with the same brush, we're going to wash it out, get all that black off. So now what we're going to do for our leaves is I'm going to get our yellow that we used, get our phthalo green, and I'm going to make it a little darker. And now just like that with our brush, we're going to add some leaves. And what I'm doing here is these are small leaves, so I'm just tapping the brush. Tapping the brush. Maybe it's springtime, so these leaves are just popping out. Okay. Leaves are just coming out. Don't need much. Little goes a long way. I like to just put them at the ends of the branches, like that. And you can add leaves anywhere. You could add some leaves up here. Okay, and then you can come back. You can get some of that black. You can add a branch going up there. See? You could add leaves up here and then meet the branch up there. You don't have to do branch and then leaves. I like to get a general idea with the branch first, and then put the leaves, but sometimes Okay, so the last little bit of detail I'm going to do is the bird's feet. So once again, the burnt sienna with the black, maybe a little more black than normal. And I'm going to have them come over right there and right here. Very subtle. Almost can't even see it. This is just for you to know that those feet are there. And then I'm going to get my brown color, my burnt umber. You could use any brown. And I'm going to just put some color on the branch from the top down, because the bottom is where we have decided to put the shadows. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of white to my brown. So you'll notice the way I paint is I do dark colors first, and then I work a little lighter. It gets lighter and lighter as I go. And I just pick where the light is hitting, right there. Okay. There. Once again, using the flat part of the brush. And there you go. We're just about done here. You can keep on working on the bird if you want. You can keep on adding in the small details with your white. You can come in. You can just keep on adding if you want to. People ask me, how do you know when a painting is done? I know a painting is done when I look at it and I think, well, that's pretty, and if I do any more, I might ruin it. So I don't want to ruin this one. Also, another way to tell when a painting is done is you'll add something and then you'll want to get rid of it because it was an unnecessary detail. And then that's a good way to know that you're done too, is when you're adding things that don't necessarily need to be there. I'm going to add some highlights on these leaves up here where the sun's hitting them, just like that. Alright, I think that's it. Don't forget to add your signature. So that's it for this painting. I hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun doing this one. Cool colors, cool bird. Some really cute features. I know I'm using that word a lot, but man, it's a cute bird. But now that we know the basics of how to find the bird we want, cut it out, put it on the canvas, find the colors that we want, now we can take it a step further and really have fun with it. So until next time, have a good one. Thank you.